The galaxy gathered near the edge of known space. It was the largest military event in history, the Grand War Games. Hundreds of fleets from different species arrived to show their strength. Their ships were fast, shining, and deadly. The grand arena of stars was alive with color. Energy trails, pulse drives, and weapon lights painted the void like fireworks. Every empire came to prove it was the strongest. In the middle of that chaos, a strange blip appeared on the radar. At first, no one noticed. It looked too small, too slow, almost ancient. Then one of the commentators spoke. "Wait, is that a human ship?" The crowd of alien admirals and nobles burst into laughter. A human vessel, here, at the War Games? Everyone knew humans were not a strong species. Their ships were old, their engines slow, their weapons simple. Compared to the sleek, curved designs of the alien armadas, the human ship looked like a box of metal drifting through space. "Look at that thing," one alien officer laughed. "It's not flying and it's crawling." Another added, "Maybe they came to watch." "Poor humans, always behind." The laughter echoed through the command channels of a dozen fleets. Even the announcers couldn't stop their jokes. They called it the slow ship, but inside that slow ship there was no laughter. The UHS Solaris, humanity's last battleship, moved silently through the war zone. Its hull was black, its armor scarred from old battles. Inside the dim bridge, Captain Mara Hayes stood before the main screen. Her eyes were calm. Her voice was steady. "Weapons ready?" she asked quietly. "Ready, Captain," replied her first officer. The young man looked nervous. He could hear the alien broadcasts, the laughter, the insults. "They're mocking us again," he said. "Should we respond?" Mara shook her head. "No, let them laugh. They don't know what's coming." Outside, the Solaris drifted slowly among the shining alien fleets. It didn't fire. It didn't even power its shields. To everyone watching, it looked like a mistake, a relic from a weaker age. But then the alien sensors began to act strangely. "Captain," said the sensor officer, frowning, "they're scanning us. But something's wrong. Their readings are bouncing back." "Explain," Mara said. "They can't detect our power source. It's like we're invisible to their systems." Across the battlefield, alien admirals were beginning to whisper. Their scanners showed nothing. No engine readings, no reactor heat, no weapon charge. The human ship seemed dead. But it wasn't. Inside its core, deep within layers of shielding, something ancient and powerful was waking up. A weapon no other race had ever seen. The Chrono Lance. A prototype built in secret. Long ago, during Earth's darkest years, it had never been tested in real combat. Even the crew didn't fully understand how it worked. They only knew one thing. It could change the rules of war. "Power levels rising," said the engineer. "But it's strange. The core output isn't stable." "It doesn't need to be stable," Mara replied. "It only needs to fire once." Outside, the alien fleets began to circle like hungry predators. One of them, the proud Zalari Dominion Kant, moved in close. "Attention, human vessel," the alien commander broadcast. "You are entering a restricted battle zone. Power down and leave, or we'll remove you." Mara didn't respond. She stood perfectly still, watching the glowing lights of hundreds of alien warships around her. "Captain?" her first officer whispered. "They're charging weapons." "Hold position," Mara said calmly. "No shields. No evasive maneuvers." "But, Captain..." "That's an order." The alien fleets opened their targeting systems. Dozens of beams locked onto the human ship. The war games turned silent as everyone waited for the first shot. But before a single weapon fired, something strange happened. Every alien radar showed a massive surge of energy coming from the human ship. The readings were off the scale, impossible to understand. The human vessel, once dark and silent, began to glow from within. A low hum filled the void. The sound was deep, steady, almost like a heartbeat. Alien captains shouted orders to retreat. Some ships tried to move, others froze, unsure if it was real. The entire battlefield watched as the Solaris's core light grew brighter and brighter. Inside, Captain Mara closed her eyes and whispered, "This is for Earth." Her hand hovered over the firing control. The ship shook slightly, systems coming online for the first time in decades. Crew members looked at one another, fear and pride mixing in their faces. Outside, alien commander shouted, It's charging something. All ships prepare to fire. Destroy that human relic. But it was too late. The core light reached its peak, a blinding white sphere expanding from the ship's center. The stars themselves seemed to fade. The entire galaxy was watching. Then, silence. A deep pulse rippled through space, slow, steady, terrifying. And that was the moment the galaxy realized. The humans hadn't come to watch. They had come to end the game. The light from the human ship filled the void. For a moment, it looked like a star was being born right in the middle of the war zone. Alien sensors went blind. Power readings froze. Every ship in the field stopped moving, confused and afraid. The commanders shouted through broken comms, "What is that energy surge? Why can't we read it?" Somebody shut it down. But there was nothing to shut down. The UHS Solaris had already crossed the point of no return. Its reactor hummed with deep low energy that made even the strongest fleets back away. Inside the Solaris, alarms flashed red. The bridge trembled. Panels cracked under pressure. Core containment unstable, yelled the engineer. Captain Mara Hayes stood calm in the center of chaos. Her eyes were fixed on the growing light beyond the viewport. "We knew this might happen," she said quietly. "Keep the ship steady. Prepare to fire." Her crew hesitated. The chronolance, the weapon hidden deep inside the ship, had never been used before. It was old, experimental, and dangerous. Some said it could break time itself. Others believed it was just a myth, a failed human project buried after the old wars. But today, the myth was real. Outside, the alien fleets gathered again. They thought the human weapon had malfunctioned. They laughed once more, calling it a human fireworks show. "They don't even know how to control their own reactor," mocked one alien admiral. "End their misery. Fire on that wreck." Hundreds of energy cannons lit up the dark. Beams of plasma and laser fire struck the Solaris head-on. Explosions rippled across its hull. Metal melted and shields collapsed. Inside the ship, smoke filled the bridge. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The first officer shouted, "Direct hit on the starboard side. Shields gone. Reactor damage critical." Still, Captain Mara did not move. Her voice was calm. "Status of the Lance." The engineer checked the readings, sweat dripping down his face. "Power at 87%, but the containment field is failing. If we fire now, we might destroy ourselves." Mara looked at the cracked glass of the control console. Her reflection stared back. Tired eyes, a scar across her cheek, and the weight of an entire world on her shoulders. "If we don't fire," she said softly, "the galaxy will never stop mocking us." She raised her hand. "Target the center fleet. Prepare to fire the chrono lance." The crew looked at her, frightened, loyal, ready. Then she gave the order. "Fire." For a second, nothing happened. The alien fleets continued to rain fire on the Solaris. It looked like the human ship was done for. Then the light changed. It turned from white to deep blue, silent, heavy, and endless. Time itself seemed to slow down. Beams of enemy fire hung frozen in space. The bright explosions turned still like paintings. Every alien ship stopped moving. Every captain froze mid-speech. Even the stars seemed to hold their breath. The chrono lance had fired. To outside observers, nothing happened for a heartbeat. Then, reality cracked. A wave of invisible force expanded outward. Wherever it touched, ships turned to dust. Metal rusted, hulls broke apart, and mighty battleships crumbled as if they had aged for thousands of years in a second. The proud fleets of the galactic empires vanished into silence. No explosions, no fire, just dust drifting through the void. When the light faded, only one ship remained. The Solaris floated among the ruins, its engines barely alive, hull torn apart, but still there. The bridge was quiet. Only the sound of failing systems filled the air. "Captain," whispered the first officer, his voice shaking. "What? What did we just do?" Mara looked at the empty space outside. Where hundreds of ships once stood, now there was nothing. "We showed them," she said. "We showed them that Earth was never weak." The engineer stared at the dying consoles. That blast. It wasn't normal. The energy signature. It's still echoing, and then it happened, the impossible. A signal appeared on every galactic frequency at once. It wasn't sent by the Solaris. It wasn't coming from any known source. It carried human encryption. a code from Earth's old military network. The message was short. Only 4 words. This is just beginning. Every alien communication officer who received the signal froze. It couldn't be real. The human homeworld had gone silent decades ago. No known transmitter existed on Earth. So where did the signal come from? Across the galaxy, panic began to spread. Was there another ship? Another weapon? Or something worse? The Galactic Council immediately called an emergency session. News reports flooded the networks. Human weapon destroys entire fleet. Impossible energy detected. Chrono field expanding. But one question filled every conversation. If one slow ship could do this, how many more did Earth have? Inside the damaged bridge of the Solaris Mara Hayes Saint, the galaxy had gone silent. Where 1,000 ships once floated, now there was only empty space, scattered metal and drifting ash. The light of the chrono lance still echoed faintly, like a scar across the stars. For the first time in centuries, no one spoke on the galactic network. Every empire, every fleet, every commander, all listened to the same repeating transmission. This is just beginning. The words carried an old human encryption code, one that no alien system could fully decode. Yet every translation said the same thing, and that was enough to make the galaxy tremble. On the surface of the Galactic Council world, chaos reigned. Inside the Hall of Unity, hundreds of alien representatives shouted over one another. Screens floated in the air, replaying the same footage, the human ship, glowing like a dying star, firing once and erasing fleets. How can a primitive species build something like that? One alien shouted. That ship was ancient. It shouldn't even fly, cried another. The council's head, High Speaker Voro, slammed his clawed hand against the table. Order, we will have order. The room fell silent, but fear remained in their eyes. We have confirmed, said a tall, thin creature from the Zalari Dominion, that the human weapon destroyed over 60% of our wargame fleet in less than a second. And the energy readings? Asked Voro. The scientist hesitated. Unknown. The power signature doesn't match any known reactor. It's been space-time. Gasps filled the chamber. Someone whispered the words that would echo across the galaxy. Time weapon. While the council argued, far from their shining halls, the UHS Solaris drifted silently through the debris field. Its hull was cracked and burnt. Smoke still leaked from the broken vents. Inside, the crew worked in near darkness. Engines offline, said the engineer. Life support holding for now, but we're losing power fast. Captain Mara Hayes sat quietly in her chair, staring at the main screen. The empty battlefield reflected in her eyes. No movement. No enemies. Only silence. Her first officer stepped forward. We did it, Captain. But at what cost? Mara didn't answer. Her hand rested on the console, fingers trembling slightly. You saw what that weapon did, she said softly. It didn't just destroy them. It aged them. Their ships turned to dust in seconds. It wasn't supposed to be that strong, said the engineer. The chrono lance was designed to collapse time around small targets. Not whole fleets. Maybe it changed, Mara replied. Or maybe Earth made it stronger. The bridge fell silent again. Somewhere deep inside the ship, the reactor hummed faintly. Still alive, still dangerous. Then a voice broke the quiet. Incoming transmission, said the comm officer. It's from the council. Open channel. The hologram of High Speaker Voro appeared in front of Mara. His face was pale, his voice sharp. Captain Mara Hayes of Earth, you have violated galactic law. You've used a forbidden weapon and destroyed dozens of fleets. Surrender your ship immediately. Mara stared at him. Those fleets fired first. We warned them. That was a war exercise, not a battle, Voro shouted. You turned a training event into a massacre. Mara's voice stayed calm. You mocked us. You called us slow. You thought we were finished. Now you see what slow can do when it has time to prepare. Voro leaned forward. You can't win against the galaxy, Captain. Earth will face consequences for this, Mara smirked. Maybe. But tell me, Speaker, how do you punish someone who can change time? The hologram cut off. The crew looked at her uneasy. Captain, what if they're right? The first officer asked. We've crossed a line no one can uncross. Mara turned her chair toward the window. The shattered fleets floated like ghosts in the void. Sometimes, she said quietly, you have to cross a line so no one else will dare again. Hours later, across the galaxy, the Council began emergency meetings. Scouts were sent to search for more human ships, but one by one those scouts vanished. No signals, no wreckage, no answers. In the shadow of a red dwarf star, another human vessel woke up. It looked identical to the Solaris, old, slow, silent. Its identification code read, UHS Valkyrie. A voice echoed through its bridge, the same female tone from Earth's deep network. Phase 2 authorized. Proceed with timeline correction. Back aboard the damaged Solaris, Mara's crew detected the signal. Captain, another human ship just came online, said the comm officer. Same code family as ours. Mara leaned forward. So it begins. Earth wasn't testing one weapon. They were testing us. The first officer frowned. Captain, do you think Earth is still alive? Mara didn't answer. She looked at the repeating message on her console, the one that had started it all. This is just beginning, she whispered under her breath. Then let's make sure we finish it. The camera would fade out on the drifting Solaris, sparks flickering, her engines flickering weakly as it turned toward deep space, following the mysterious signal back to where it all began. Hook for next part. As the galaxy panics and a second human ship awakens, the truth begins to unfold. Humanity's slow fleet wasn't built to fight wars. It was built to rewrite them. The galaxy was no longer laughing. Every empire had lost something in the blast. Ships, soldiers, pride. And no one knew how a single human vessel could erase entire fleets with one shot. The Galactic Council Hall glowed dimly under the light of the twin suns. Inside, hundreds of alien leaders gathered once again. The air was heavy with fear. High Speaker Voro stood before the crowd, his voice echoing through the chamber. We are facing a new kind of weapon. A human weapon. We must understand it before it destroys us all. Holoscreens around the hall replayed the same nightmare. The human ship, UHS Solaris, glowing like a star before everything around it vanished into dust. An elderly alien scientist from the Varn system spoke softly. We studied the energy readings from the rec field. It's not plasma, not antimatter, not radiation. It's time. The room fell silent. Time, one of the generals repeated. You mean, yes, the scientist said. The human weapon accelerated time around its targets. It aged metal, fuel, and even energy systems thousands of years in seconds. Gasps filled the hall. The realization spread like fire. Humanity had turned time itself into a weapon. Meanwhile, far from the council world, in a hidden facility orbiting a dead moon, fleets of engineers worked in secret. Hundreds of drones were reconstructing damaged footage from the human attack. The images revealed something terrifying. The Chrono Lance had not only destroyed ships where it had erased data, rewritten sensors, and scrambled spacetime itself. One admiral whispered, "We didn't just lose ships, we lost history." Back in the council hall, the fear turned into anger. "We must act now," shouted a general from the Draven Empire. "Before the humans strike again." "Strike with what?" replied another delegate. "We can't even locate them." "They're ghosts!" The council leader slammed his fist on the table. "Then we find Earth. We burn that planet before they burn us." The hall roared in agreement. But amid the chaos, one alien sat silently, Admiral Kale of the Thal Union. He had fought beside humans centuries ago during the old alliances. He knew their nature. Kyle finally stood and spoke. "You don't understand them. Humans don't fight for fun. They fight when they've already lost everything. If they're back now, something terrible must have happened." The room quieted for a moment. Voro glared at him. "Are you saying we should do nothing?" "No," Kyle said. "I'm saying we should think before we provoke them again. You saw what one ship did. What if there are more?" His warning was ignored. The council voted, almost unanimously, to launch Operation Silence, a galaxy-wide hunt for any surviving human ships. 2 weeks later, reports began flooding in. Scouts sent into human space vanished. Entire patrol fleets disappeared without distress calls. One transmission survived. A few seconds of garbled video showing an enormous shadow emerging from a nebula. A human ship, slow and massive, but glowing with the same faint blue energy. The transmission ended with static. High Speaker Voro watched it on repeat, his claws shaking slightly. He turned to his advisor. How many of these ships do they have? The advisor hesitated. We don't know. Our best estimate, dozens, maybe hundreds. That's impossible, Voro hissed. Earth doesn't have the resources to build that many. Unless, the advisor whispered. They've been building them for centuries. The words hit Voro like a knife. Centuries. Ever since the galaxy thought humanity had gone extinct. Far away, in the black void beyond known space, the UHS Solaris drifted silently beside another ship, the UHS Valkyrie. The two human vessels hovered side by side, exchanging encrypted signals. Inside the Solaris, Captain Mara Hayes stood before a hologram, the projection of an older man wearing a gray Earth uniform. He was a commander from Earth's hidden defense network. Captain Hayes, the man said, your test was successful. The council took the bait. They'll come for us, she replied. Of course, he said coldly. That's the plan, let them. The more they send, the better the data we collect. Mara frowned. You're using us as targets. No, the man replied. We're using their arrogance as fuel. They mocked our speed. Now we'll make them fear our patience. The hologram faded, leaving Mara in silence. Her crew watched her carefully. Captain, said the first officer, what is Earth planning? Mara looked out the viewport at the distant stars. Something big. Something that can't be undone. Back on the council world, alarms suddenly blared through the chambers. The war room lit up with a... The galaxy was falling apart. In just a few weeks, entire fleets had vanished without a trace. Sensors showed impossible readings. Time distortions, matter decay, and ghost signals that looped endlessly in space. No one could explain it. Every empire that joined Operation Silence now begged for peace. But it was too late. Humanity was already moving. The Galactic Council gathered again in panic. Dozens of alien leaders shouted across the Great Hall. Maps glowed red with warning symbols. The pattern of destruction was now clear. Sector 1, Sector 5, Sector 12. Each attack was perfectly calculated, forming a single line across the stars. The line was pointing straight toward the Council's homeworld, Vorn Prime. High Speaker Voro slammed his claws against the table. They're coming here. The humans are coming here! The room erupted in chaos. Some shouted to surrender, others demanded to fight. Admiral Kyle of the Thal Union stood and raised his hand. Listen to me. The humans warned us. The first attack, and that wasn't a war. That was a message. A message? Another alien hissed. They turned fleets to dust. What message is that? Kale's eyes narrowed. The same one they always send here, and don't underestimate us. Across the void inside the UHS Solaris, Captain Mara Hayes stared at the holographic projection of the Council world. Her ship was silent, drifting within a nebula cloud invisible to sensors. Her crew waited for her command. Captain, said her first officer quietly, the target path is ready. Once we fire, the Council won't recover. Mara didn't answer immediately. She looked out at the stars, her face hard but tired. How many lives are down there? She asked. Billions, the officer said. Mara closed her eyes. And how many human colonies did they erase during the purge? 72, her voice turned cold. Then fire when ready. Far away in the Council command tower, alarms screamed through the night. The skies above Vorn Prime glowed. Strange blue lights flickered like lightning, spreading across the horizon. The chief sensor officer shouted, We have a distortion incoming. Massive energy spike, no known signature. Voro turned toward the screens. Where is it coming from? Everywhere, the officer cried. The source is inside the upper atmosphere. Outside, the clouds began to swirl. Then from within the storm, a single ship emerged. Slow, dark, and silent. The same human vessel that started it all. UHS Solaris. The Council's defense fleets rose immediately, hundreds of ships surrounding the planet. Missiles armed, shields charged. Voro stared at the human vessel. Open a channel. I want to speak to them. On the Solaris bridge, a soft voice echoed. Incoming message from the Council, Captain. Mara nodded. Put it through. Voro's face appeared on the hologram, trembling with fury. Captain of the human ship, you are trespassing in Council space. Explain yourself. Mara said nothing for a moment. Then she leaned forward. You killed 72 human colonies. You erased millions of our people. Did you think we'd forget? That was centuries ago. Voro shouted. No one alive today was part of that war. Mara's eyes turned cold. We remember. That's enough. What do you want? Voro demanded. We want silence, Mara said softly. The silence you gave us when you burned our skies. The transmission cut. Every ship around Vorn Prime opened fire. Beams of light and plasma tore across the darkness, smashing into the human vessel. But the Solaris didn't move. Its shields glowed faintly, slow, steady, and impossibly strong. The alien admiral screamed in disbelief as their weapons failed to leave a scratch. Then the human ship fired once. A single beam of blue-white energy cut through space, slow as a sunrise. But as it spread, everything it touched began to age. Ships turned to dust, armor crumbled. Reactors decayed into rust and silence. In less than a minute, the Council's defense armada was gone. Inside the Council Hall, the ground shook. The lights flickered. Voro stumbled to his knees as the hologram map showed one final red flash. The human beam heading straight for the planet. No, please, he whispered. Then the transmission screen before him lit up one last time. It was Captain Mara Hayes. Her face was calm, her voice steady. This is our final warning. Never again will humanity be mocked or forgotten. The feed went dark. Seconds later, the beam passed through the upper atmosphere. Cities aged into dust. Towers collapsed. Oceans boiled. And the once mighty homeworld of the Galactic Council turned silent. Far beyond the burning world, the UHS Solaris drifted through space once more. Its engines glowed faintly as it turned away from the ruins. The first officer looked at Mara. Captain, the Council is gone.
What now?
Mara stared ahead, her voice quiet but full of steel. Now, we find the ones who ordered the purge. The Council was just the beginning. The ship's engines ignited, pushing the vessel deeper into the dark. Slow, steady, unstoppable. Hook for next, final, part 6. The Return of Earth. Rumors begin to spread across the galaxy. Earth itself has awakened, and the fleets seen leaving the Sol system are unlike anything the galaxy has ever known. The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. After the destruction of the Galactic Council, no one dared to speak the word Earth. Fleets stayed near their home systems. Broadcasts were filled with silence and fear. No one knew how many human ships existed. No one knew where they came from. And worst of all, no one knew what they wanted next. In the ruins of the Council world, drones drifted through dust and broken metal. A few survivors hid underground, whispering in the dark. They spoke of a message left behind, burned into the planet's surface by the human weapon. 3 words. Do not follow. Weeks passed. Then, strange reports began to spread. Deep scanners picked up signals in the Sol system, the ancient human home. The readings were unlike anything recorded before. Massive energy surges, gravitational spikes, and artificial storms. The galaxy held its breath. No one had entered the Sol system in centuries. It was believed to be dead, its sun cold and its planets empty. But now something was happening there. The Varn Explorers Guild decided to investigate. A small fleet of 5 stealth ships crept toward the Sol system. Their captain, Ril Qatar, was known for his curiosity and his arrogance. If humans are truly back, Ryle said, then we'll be the first to see their secret. His crew looked uneasy. Sir, after what happened to the Council... The Council was foolish, Ryle interrupted. We are scientists, not soldiers. They won't harm us, he was wrong. As the fleet entered the system, the scanners went wild. The sun, Sol, was no longer dying. It was glowing, burning brighter than ever before, surrounded by enormous mechanical rings. The fleet slowed down, watching in awe. What are those structures? The sensor officer whispered. They're building something, Ryle said softly. A Dyson array, maybe a planetary defense grid. Then the radar froze. 5 unknown contacts appeared, far ahead, moving slowly, deliberately. Each contact was massive, kilometers long, and shaped like ancient human warships. But these were far more advanced. Their hulls shimmered with living metal. Their energy signatures were unreadable. Identify, Ril shouted. Unknown, came the reply. They're human. The human ship stopped in front of the alien fleet, blocking the way to Earth. A transmission opened, not in alien languages, but in simple, old galactic standard. This is Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. Turn back immediately. Rail tried to speak. We come in peace. We are scientists. There was a pause. Then the human voice returned, calm but sharp. Peace requires respect. You did not ask permission to enter our skies? Rail laughed nervously. Surely we can. The human ships powered up their engines. The alien scanners overloaded instantly. The voice spoke again, colder this time. This is your only warning. The aliens turned their ships to retreat. But before they could escape, the stars behind them flickered and vanished. A barrier of light surrounded the entire Sol system. It wasn't a shield. It was something else. A horizon. Time itself was different inside it. Ryle's last words were lost in static. His ships were never seen again. Across the galaxy, the broadcasts resumed, not from any empire, but from Earth itself. Every screen, every terminal, every hollow projector flickered on at once. A human face appeared, calm, old, and proud. To all species of the galaxy, the voice said, you mocked us for being slow. You called us primitive. But you forgot the truth. Patience built our strength. The message continued. We have returned not to conquer, but to balance. The age of empires is over. The age of arrogance ends today. Behind the speaker, fleets of new human dreadnoughts glowed, each one larger than a city, each one carrying the same slow, unstoppable energy. Earth is awake, the voice said. We are not your enemies, unless you force us to be. Then the signal ended. In every world across the galaxy, leaders trembled. No one dared to speak against them. The great powers that once mocked Earth began sending peace treaties, gifts, and apologies, but none were answered. The humans had vanished again, leaving behind only fear and silence. Far beyond the Sol system, Captain Mara Hayes stood aboard the UHS Solaris, watching the message replay on her display. Her first officer turned to her. We did it, Captain. The galaxy will think twice before ever touching Earth again. Mara nodded slowly. No, they'll do more than think twice. They'll remember. The officer smiled faintly. And what about us? Mara looked at the stars. We wait. Humanity always waits. The engines of the Solaris glowed as the ship turned toward the void. It moved slowly, calmly, like